Hey, hello everybody. Bill Macphee back with you with Mental Wellness Today presents Recovery Blog with Bill Macphee. Hi, I'm your host, Bill Macphee. Today is October the 20th, 2014, and we're just going to discuss a few things today. The first thing that I'd like to talk about um, is a book that I finished. If you've been following me, you know that I just finished Long Road to Freedom, Nelson Mandela's book, and now we have this book here that is called Rescued from the Pit, and it's Healing from Schizophrenia by Rosemary Ross, and it's an autobiographical novel. And I read it, I guess, probably in about 3 days. It's a great book, flows very nicely, wants gives you the chance of always wanting to read more. Very not dry at all. Very interesting. Rosemary went through a lot in the book. She calls her. Uh, she uses the name goes by Elizabeth or Liz, and it's a neat story. But what it really points out that I want to get to the point of is that it talks about stress. I mean, I think that her symptoms were all about really stress, a lot of stress in her life, and she goes through most of the book with that stress, and that triggers an episode of schizophrenia in her personality. And so what happens though, I want to give you an example. Stress is very, it's called one leg of the illness of schizophrenia. So for example, we say that schizophrenia has three legs. One is that it's genetic, that has to do with genes and heredity, and both the genes can skip generations, different things like that. But it's definitely there's a genetic component with um, with schizophrenia. So the other thing is that it's biochemical. The other leg is that it's biochemical, which means that there's chemicals in the brain, and these chemicals are things like dopamine and serotonin, and however there's about 300 different chemicals in the brain, but we believe that it's a chemical imbalance with schizophrenia because of those positive symptoms, those things where you're paranoid, or you're hearing voices, or you're having hallucinations or delusions. All those are caused by a chemical imbalance where you have receptors, and in between these receptors there's dopamine, and when signals try to cross within the brain, because of chemical imbalance, they don't the signals come across all jumbled, and that's where we get our paranoia and our delusions and our false beliefs, all this kind of stuff, those positive symptoms of schizophrenia. The heightened smell, your hearing is more acute, colors seem to be brighter, things are more detailed. All of these are because of the chemical imbalance. And then thirdly, we have stress, a triggering point or stress. A lot of times that happens in people's lives that will bring out a symptom of schizophrenia, or the illness bring it on. So again, schizophrenia has three legs to it. It's genetic, chemical, and stressor. And in Rosemary's book, she goes through a lot of the stress that she's had that brought it. Now, this book was interesting. Oh, I just got a little, a little bit. In the book, it talks a little bit about there was some sexual abuse, and I got to tell you, you do not realize how many books that I've read, or documentaries that I've seen, or people's stories that I've heard where there's been sexual abuse involved. I'm considered myself as a recovery expert with mental illness. However, I'm not really an expert in sexual abuse, though I can really tell you that sexual abuse has really can leave a lot of scars on people, and it's a terrible thing. I can't even get in the mind of somebody who would want to sexually abuse a child or something like that. Just it's just so foreign to me that I can't comprehend that, and it is really disgusting. But anyways, as well, in the book, Liz had some suicide attempts, so it was very realistic. Now, what's interesting to what I found really interested in the book is that this took place. Her breakdown took place in the 50s and early 60s, and at that time, medication was just coming out, and she basically said that her medication was the reason that she survived and is doing so well today. I think she's been many years symptom free, still on meds, but living a great quality life. But what I found interesting is that she mentions one of the medications that she was on was stelazine. And I know that stelazine is a real old medication. In fact, I'd be surprised if they use it today still. I don't think they do. They may in some places, but it's a real old drug. But I want to kind of give you. I mentioned that the stelazine, the different drugs were made in the early 50s now. And I want to give you a little bit of history of how medication came about. Really, with medication, it came out in the early 50s, and how it came about was that way back in the 50s and the 40s, and as far back as time, there used to be huge hospitals out there. Basically, they would call them the institutes for the insane, and basically what they were mental mental illness hospitals, but more like institutions where they're just warehouse people, where they would just basically have tons and tons, like literally 3,000-4,000 people living in these places. They would come there and they'd put their suitcases up in the attic, and they'd never leave the place. And what happened is that while these patients were in this institution, they would come up with some physical illnesses. Say somebody had an appendix, needed their appendix out or something like that. What they would do is they would go into an operating room, and they started to, when they would put them out, they'd give them some anesthesia or some gas or something, but put them out so they can do the operation. And what they found is that when these operations came out, when the patients came out of in the recovery room after a physical operation, they noticed that their symptoms of schizophrenia kind of went away, that they were lessened, or they weren't around that. There's a remarkable improvement. And that's where they started to think that, you know what, we're going to use these medications to treat people with mental illness. The problem was that the medications, or the tranquilizers, they were all in the tranquilizing family, or they're basically put people to sleep, or they were very into tranquilizing family. That's why, when we see movies and we see people who've been on a lot of older medications, a lot of times they're kind of like zombie-like or slow motion, or you can see the effects of them. And that was because the medication were all in the tranquilizing family. And even in the book, even in Rosemary's book here, Rescued from the Pit, she was very tired going through her illness and everything like that. And that's wise, because those medications back there that she was on in the late 50s and early 60s were in the tranquilizing family. Today, medications don't come from the tranquilizing families of medication. They come from other newer things that are more cleaner drugs, or work on the dopamine and the serotonin more cleanly, and so there's less fatigue in that. So I just wanted to point that out with medications. But again, Rosemary mentions that what gave her life back was finding that right combination. Great book, definitely recommend it. What I do is if there's a book I read and I recommend it, if I would have it at my table when I'm out at events and I'd be selling it, this is one that I would definitely sell. So if you wanted to find out about this book, Rescued from the Pit by Rosemary Ross, you can find it probably in your bookstore or Amazon. Or if you can't find it, just send me an email at bmacphee@magpiemags.com, and I'll get you the information for that. Okay, let's see. What did I want to talk about now? Yes, so Wednesday I'm going to be in, where are we here? Wednesday I'm going to be in Rockland Community College Cultural Arts Theater at 145 College Road in Suffern, New York. I'm doing a presentation for a local NAMI group there, that they have a regular thing that they do every year, and it's called Breaking the Silence, and I'm going to be talking about living with schizophrenia on Wednesday night. While I'm there, I'm going to be doing a blog interview with somebody, probably somebody from the Rockland County NAMI organization, and so that will probably get posted maybe Friday. So I'm going to do that interview on Wednesday. morning, and then I'm speaking Wednesday night, and then hopefully when I get back, or I'll try to post it on Friday. So that's what else is exciting? Nothing else going on here. I did get some questions from Tracy from Australia, and I'm going to be following up on some of her questions. Probably not in the next blog because I'm going to do that when I'm in Rockland. But then maybe after that, then I'll do the questions that came from Tracy from Australia. We'll do that. She's listed about 10 different questions. Some of them I know the answers. The other ones I don't. I'll try to brush up, but we'll do that. And then I told you in another blog that I'm going to be interviewing Dan Silver. Dan Silver has a lot of experience with mental illness as far as rehabilitation, recovery. Worked in the field with mental health for many, many years. So we're going to be interviewing Dan in an upcoming episode. And Peter, if you watched that interview that I did with Peter Stewart, I actually met with Peter again this weekend, and we caught up on what was going on, and so then we actually Peter's still doing well, doing very well in school, getting good marks, and fitting in the class. So that I'm really happy about that for Peter. So thanks, Peter. And Peter, from doing an interview with me on the show, had other interested people wanting to interview him on their radio show and different things. So Peter's going to be doing that. If you ever want to be a guest or anything, or if you ever in Fort Erie, or if I'm traveling into your town or anything, and you want to be a guest on my blog, if you want to just share about your experience with mental illness, or if you're working in the field, or whatever you want to do, just I'm totally open to that. Before I go, I just want to do a little commercial here. Again, Rosemary Ross's book. It's called Rescued from the Pit. Very good book. Recommend it. Other as well, my stuff here. There's To Cry a Dry Tear is my book that's just been out in March 2014. It's called To Cry a Dry Tear. Bill Macphee's Journey of Hope and Recovery with Schizophrenia. So that's a great read, getting really good reviews on that. As well as I have a DVD here called Life After Mental Illness, which was a documentary done on me, life after mental illness. And you can find these products on our website, mentalwellnesstoday.com. Once again, mentalwellnesstoday.com. You can have our products, and you'll see we published the magazine as a Z magazine as well. And lots of information and help for you there. Okay, I think I'm going to close then with that, and just to tell you again that my definition of recovery is when you wouldn't want to be anybody else but who you are today. Have a great day, and remember, there is life after mental illness. Have a great day. Bye-bye.